What's up, guys? Welcome back to the TheSlamDuncan YouTube channel. The NBA regular season is officially underway, as we saw last night with two amazing games. But the Bulls play their first regular season game tonight against the Detroit Pistons. I want to kind of go into like a pregame show here, kind of talk about this matchup for the Bulls versus the Pistons, which should be a win for the Bulls. But before we get into that, though, I want to kind of talk about the preseason a little bit, give my bold predictions for this Bulls team for the regular season, and just kind of overall thoughts on the regular season. Then we're going to get into the pregame show, Bulls versus Pistons. But before we get into it, though, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Let's talk about preseason basketball a little bit here. The Bulls went 4-0 in their preseason. They played fewer games than a lot of other teams. Bulls only played 4. A lot of teams played 6. A lot of them played 5. But big thing I want to point out with the Bulls in the preseason was they took care of their business. A lot of people are like, wow, they beat horrible teams. And yes, we beat horrible teams. But this is something that the Bulls have not done in recent years, is they would not beat horrible teams that they should have, beat on a regular basis, right? So the Bulls took care of business, I think. And a lot of people also just kind of point out the Bulls that they played a lot of their main guys, but that's kind of necessary for this Bulls team because this entire roster is completely new, right? Only Levine, White, and Williams returned, and Vucevic if you count him, but this Bulls team is completely new. A lot of new pieces for this Bulls team, so of course the main guys have to play together. That's how you build chemistry, right? So I was very happy to see a couple of things. I did a video after the first preseason game, but main thing I wanted to talk about is deflections or steals. This Bulls team is definitely going to be one of the top teams in steals this year, and this Bulls team has looked very, very good offensively. I mean, I have to say that this Bulls team in the preseason, I know it's preseason, but they looked very, very good offensively. Excuse me, and it's very evident that this team has already building chemistry on the offensive end. Now, defensively, it is definitely still a question mark, but I do think that the critics have been a little bit too high on this team because everyone's talked about the previous team, and I'm like, and people bring up, like, well, they were bad last year. They really weren't bad last year, but you can't really use last year at all as a baseline because it's a whole brand new team. You cannot use last year as in any comparison to what this team's going to do defensively this year. I think the definite weakness of this team is going to be paint protection, just from preseason. But I think because Vucevic is not a paint protector, but I think you're going to be seeing that this Bulls team is going to try to limit paint points from their point of attack defense, which is the perimeter defense, trying to get as many steals as possible, guarding guys, switching on the perimeter. That's how they're going to try to defend the paint most of the time. And I think this Bulls team is going to do a pretty good job of limiting their 3-point opportunities against their opponent. Last but not least, about the preseason, I want to talk about is the Lonzo, Caruso, Levine, DeRozan, Vucevic lineup. This is something that Billy Donovan has done a lot in his time as coach, is that he loves his 6-man, and he tends to run with his 6-man over a starter to end the second half and also, end the second quarter and also end the fourth quarter. So I won't be shocked to see if that lineup is the ending of both halves, and potentially that means Patrick Williams is probably going to be on the bench to end both halves, which it could be a good or bad thing. But Donovan loves his three guard lineups, and that's a definite 3-guard lineup, and that was probably the most effective lineup in all preseason when you look at all the teams. That was an incredibly effective lineup. You got 4 ball handlers out there, 3 great shooters, and you got 3 shot creators in Levine, DeRozan, and Vucevic, and that lineup was just so good in the preseason, and I expect that lineup to be closing at least the first half. It's going to 100% close the first half. We'll see if Donovan chooses to run that lineup to close games, especially in crunch time, which is going to be interesting. I do think that, taking out Patrick Williams for Alex Caruso, it's not exactly a bad thing. I will say it will be a bad thing if, let's say, Patrick Williams suddenly, becomes a star this season, which I don't think is going to happen. Like, he's not going to be all-star level this season. I don't expect that. But in terms of, let's just say we think Patrick Williams is going to average around, let's just say 12, 13 points per game, taking him out for Caruso, I do think you definitely lose some rim protection, some paint protection. But the thing is then you add more ball handling, you add more shooting with Caruso. And Caruso showed in the preseason that he can definitely guard 4s. He guarded Larry Markkinen And also we saw him guard Kevin Love. So I don't really have much concern, with the Bulls switching 1 through 4 with that lineup and having Caruso, who would be the shortest guy in the court for the Bulls, guard the 4-man in a potential switching situation. So I honestly don't have any problems with that lineup, and I love the fact that Karnisovas and Donovan had that talk in the offseason, and they got the guys that they wanted so they can run a lineup like this, which I think is definitely going to be one of the most effective lineups in the entire NBA this season. So that's just a few overall thoughts from the preseason. Again, it's preseason, so there's stuff that you can definitely take away, which is obviously the deflections and that lineup that we saw, but there are also things where it's like, yeah, it's a pretty bad team. We faced the Cavs twice. We faced New Orleans without Ingram and Zion. The Memphis was probably their only real team that really played. They weren't only missing Dylan Brooks. And I think the Bulls did pretty well against that team as well. So, good things overall for the preseason. Hopefully, the Bulls continue winning tonight and into the regular season. My bold predictions for this Bulls team, I don't know how bold you're going to say they are, but I would consider them pretty decently bold. First thing I want to mention is the standings, where the Bulls are going to land in the standings. My bold prediction is that the Bulls are going to be a 6 seed or higher in this year. This is obviously barring injury. If there is a major injury to this team, then this does not apply, obviously. But if this team stays fully healthy, or at least mostly healthy all season, I expect them to be a 6 team or higher. I don't think they're going to be in the play-in tournament. They definitely could if there is injury, but I expect this Bulls team to be a 6 seed or higher. Now, on top of that, though, I don't think this Bulls team gets any higher than 4. I honestly don't expect them to get 4. I really think that the Bulls are going to be landing at 5 or 6 this season, and that is very, very good considering, last season we weren't in the playoffs, right? And for multiple seasons we weren't in the playoffs. So I expect 5, 6 seed for this Bulls team, potentially 4. But I don't think we're going to get the 7th or 8th seed or even lower than that. I really don't. I think this team is pretty, it's just too good on offense, and it just has a lot more depth now, and adding in DeRozan and Lonzo and Caruso, those are pretty big acquisitions. I could say the Bulls won the offseason when you look at the rest of the teams, right? But I do think this Bulls team will be a 6 team or higher. Add on top of that, kind of like a little sub category for this one, I think this Bulls team is going to be higher than the Knicks. Now, I know Charles Barkley has already come out and said the Bulls team would be higher than the Heat. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, injury could happen. But if, let's say, the Bulls and the Knicks are both relatively healthy throughout the entire season, I do think this Bulls team is going to be higher than the Knicks. The Bulls and Knicks fan bases have been going at it on social media all offseason, which is great to see, obviously. I am not a part of that. But there is just a lot of bantering back and forth between the two fan bases, and that could be good or bad. I personally think it's good, but obviously people can go too far. But I do think that this Bulls team is better than the Knicks team. I think the Knicks last year, first off, the whole Tibbs, the whole image around Tibbs is that he places guys so many minutes in the regular season and then they're dead in the playoffs. Well, the problem is that continued last season. The Knicks were a 4 seed, and then they faced the Atlanta Hawks and they look horrible, right? That's just how it went. So I just think last season that you played all these guys so many minutes. Julius Randle was up there in minutes, and yes, you bring in Evan Fournier, but I don't think this Knicks team really got much better. I'm going to be very interested to see where they land and how well they play. I don't think Julius Randle can have that type of season again. Even though I think Julius Randle can be a multiple-time All-Star, I just don't think he can shoot that efficiently in consecutive seasons. But I think he could be an All-Star this year again. But that defense was so good, I just don't think it can be replicated. So my bold prediction under the 6 seed or higher for the Bulls is that the Bulls are going to finish higher than the Knicks this season. I do think the Knicks will be in the playoffs in some form, but I think they'll be under the Bulls. The other teams that I'm definitely looking at is Boston, Atlanta. Those are two teams that I don't know where the Bulls are going to end up with those teams. I think a lot of people are kind of overrating the Hawks a little bit because they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm just saying, if Ben Simmons was 70% of himself, the Hawks don't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, it's crazy to see that the Hawks flipped that switch after they fired Lloyd Pierce. It's just, it was literally a tale of two seasons for the Hawks. I don't know which Hawks team we're going to get this year. Is it going to be first half of the season Hawks or second half of the season Hawks? I think Trae Young is going to be great, but I don't know how much better the rest of the team got. So the Bulls could potentially be better than them. I would put the Hawks higher than the Bulls right now, but that's a team to watch. I think Boston's another team to watch because we don't know about their situation and where they're really going. But, we got Brooklyn, Milwaukee, obviously at the top. I think the Heat will be at the top as well, and then Philly, even if Ben Simmons is not playing. So I'm saying, middle of the pack for the Bulls, 5 or 6 seed, but I think we're going to be better than the Knicks. Moving on to a second bold prediction is I think the Bulls are going to be in the top 5 in steals per game as a team this year. Just looking at the preseason, I mean, the amount of lineups that Billy Donovan can run out there where everybody is 6'5" or taller, and you have multiple guys that can get into the passing lanes or multiple guys that can pickpocket guys on the court. Like, it's incredible to watch. So you're going to see Billy Donovan really be, on top of the perimeter defense this year. I don't think the, rim protections would be that high because we don't have the personnel, right? So I think Lonzo, Levine, DeRozan, Caruso, Williams, they're all going to be in the passing lanes this season. And then obviously Lonzo and Caruso, they can pickpocket guys. Therefore, I think the Bulls are definitely going to be in a top 5 in steals per game this year. Maybe it's not top 5. Maybe, it's top 7. But I think the Bulls can get up to top 5. And that's going to be my second bold prediction. My third bold prediction is that the Bulls will be top 10 in assists per game this season. If you do not know about the Bulls team already, this Bulls team is already very good in terms of passing. Even last season, even though it felt like last season on offense that the offense was struggling or the ball was sticking too much, as Stacey King would say, the ball was just stuck on one side of the floor, right? You saw that a decent amount last season, but even with all the struggles of that last season, the Bulls were still a very good passing team. I mean, we had guys, not just, guards. It was everybody in the court was a very willing passer. Even Zach LaVine, who averaged close to 5 assists per game, or maybe it was at 5 assists. But it's just this Bulls team got better passing from last season, right? You add DeMar DeRozan, who is an incredible playmaker. Lonzo Ball in transition is probably one of the best players in the game. And he's obviously in transition. He's one of the best passers in the league. You add Vucevic, and I know that's in the middle of last season, but Vucevic is a very good passer from the post, right? Or really from anywhere as a big man. And obviously Alex Caruso coming off the bench. Like, that's more passing to this team that was already a pretty decent passing team last season. So Billy Donovan has always, in his teams, they've always been a great passing team. It's not exactly at the top of the league, but they're always very good. They're never close to the bottom. So I expect the assists to be very high this season, especially because there's going to be more shots falling. And therefore, I think the Bulls will be top 10 in assists per game this season. And last but not least, I really do think this is going to happen as well. The Bulls are going to be a top half team defensively, so top 15. Bulls ended 12th last season. I don't know if this could be like 12th or potentially top 5, but I do think that we're better than half the league defensively with this team. I understand DeRozan is not a good defender. I know Levine has that image of a terrible defender. I do think his on-ball defense is very underrated, but I think adding in Lonzo and Caruso, like, we did not have those types of guys last year on the perimeter. And, we were already pretty okay. So I know Vucevic is a liability, but if you have good perimeter defense, then Vucevic doesn't look that bad. And he's looked much better because of the training camp. I think the Bulls are going to definitely be top 15 defensively this season. Maybe that is a bold prediction to a lot of you guys, but I think this Bulls team, I'm saying they're going to be top 6, right? Which means that they have to be a good defensive team, and I think they will be this season. So those are my 4 predictions just for the overall team. I don't really like doing like the whole like individual player stuff. Like Zach LaVine's going to average 29 points per game. Like I don't like doing that. I will say this is not a bold prediction, but I do think the Bulls will have 2 All-Stars. This is not a prediction, just my guess here. I do think the Bulls are going to have 2 All-Stars. I don't know between Vucevic and DeRozan which one is going to be the second one. but I do think that's going to happen. I think this Bulls team is going to do very well against subpar 500 teams. So I expect this Bulls team to do a good job beating the teams that they should beat this season. So moving on to then kind of the pregame for this Bulls versus Pistons. Cade Cunningham is out, so we're not going to see the rookie Cade Cunningham play today, but expect the Bulls to come in and take care of business. This Pistons team is not good at all. We should come in and really just come out firing and put them away early. I would like to say that this team will put them away in the first half. I can't make any guarantees because this is the Bulls at the end of the day. But I expect to win, and hopefully the Bulls can contain this guy right here. This is the main guy that the Bulls need to worry about, and that's Jeremy Grant. Jeremy Grant is a very good player. You can make the case he should have been an all-star last season, right? But Jeremy Grant, two-way player, he is going to get his own shots. He torched the Bulls at the United Center last season. He absolutely torched the Bulls, and this is when Patrick Williams was guarding him. Zach LaVine was actually the best matchup against Jeremy Grant, and he was the one that slowed down Jeremy Grant. But the Bulls need to contain this guy. If you can contain this guy tonight, the Bulls will win. And hopefully Donovan is having a bunch of schemes built up, and hopefully the switching in that three-guard lineup and DeRozan at the 4 lineup is going to be very effective against Jeremy Grant, so he can't turn the corner off a pick and roll with a guard, right? That should be negated tonight, and hopefully the Bulls can make sure Jeremy Grant doesn't score 25 plus tonight. So that's kind of the key component here. But also for tonight, look for the Bulls to get a bunch of steals. I don't think this Pistons team has very good ball handling. I think the Bulls can definitely take advantage of maybe pressuring up court, making the Pistons guards play a little bit faster than they want to. So look for the Bulls to kind of exert their pressure on the perimeter defense, maybe full court pressure, half court pressure a little bit, not the whole game, just a little bit throughout the game. And then on perimeter, I'm talking about the switching. You're going to see a lot of switching, I think. And the Bulls can definitely do that against this Pistons team, which isn't very good. So if the Bulls come out with energy and they're coming out with good motivation and they're not coming out lazy, this should be a pretty simple win for the Bulls tonight. And honestly, looking ahead at the schedule, the Bulls should probably win the first 3 games because once we hit the month of November, things get rough. So hopefully the Bulls come out firing quickly for the regular season. So that's all I have for you guys in this little preview for the Bulls season, Bull predictions, talk about the preseason, and also talk about Bulls versus Pistons tonight, which is at 6 o'clock. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Bulls play at 6 p.m. Central Times. Adam and me and Stacey King have the call, I believe. And I'm hoping for a great season of Bulls basketball, and hopefully it's a winning season because we haven't had one in a long time. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.